Virat Kohli were to have a stellar performance like he did in ODI World Cup, this topic or this question wouldn't have been brought up.
Everybody, welcome to Just Another Podcast. This is our first ever video we're having on the pod on our channel. And what topic to start the podcast better than the T20 World Cup that we just won? So here we have with us Ankur and Karthik, who are going to be our guests for today. And yeah, so let's get on with it. So as we chose the theme of today, it is in common cricket, which is of course worshipped in India as it, even though it's not the national sport, it is worshipped as that. So now, when we talk about cricket, there's nothing better than the World Cup, is it? And India recently won the T20 World Cup. So yeah, guys, I want to ask you, when they won the World Cup, what were your thoughts? Like, did you think they wouldn't win? Did you think, were you nervous? Were you emotional after they won? What was in your head? What was running? So yeah,
Okay,
Karthik, what do you wanna?
I'll start off.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I feel happy for each one of the players and each one of their storylines. So, let's say, for example, Virat. He has carried India in the 2014, 2016, was the highest run scorer in the 2022 World Cup, didn't win, but then fate had its own say. And then, even though he wasn't at his best this World Cup, he lifted the trophy. Rohit again underperformed severely in the previous T20 World Cups, but then this World Cup he was on his A game, came out swinging and with a very selfless, I would say, a very selfless attitude, he got us a World Cup. Bumrah again an all-time T20 bowler on his way, on his steps to becoming an all-time white ball bowler. Uh, Akshar Patel again, Hardik Pandya after all that's been said to him, a lot of rumors, a lot of mental health issues, comes out, performs, does this small things. You look at his overall stats, it wouldn't reflect um, his contributions or how important his contributions are. A small 10 ball 20, a small 13 ball 26. Those are the important contributions Hardik Pandya has done. Um, then there are so many. Jadeja was also retired from T20s. Um, so in this way, India, let's say this is the end of an era, I would say, an era of Rohit, Virat, the coach Rahul Dravid, who has his own storyline, very fairy tale like storyline. And on the other hand, I feel really gutted for South Africa because um, they played well. They've been playing well for the last three T20 World Cups, I would say. Yes, they lost to Netherlands, but um, I truly believe that they're close. They were this close to winning it. It was 30 of 30. Klaasen was playing well. But then Bumrah and Pandya came on, put the brakes, and turned the game in our favor. So, yeah.
well said. And Ankur, what do you have to say?
After the 2023 World Cup final disappointment, I was actually skeptical. I was skeptical if India could, recreate such dominant performance again. I'm happy that I was proven wrong. Every single player stepped up. Um, every single player. Yeah, there were some players who underperformed in this tournament as well, but they were selected due to their own merits, and some way or the other, they ended up showcasing it. Um, everybody, like Karthik said, everybody had their own storyline, and this was truly the end of a great Indian era. Um, one thing is for certain that we will be definitely missing Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli post this World Cup, and the effects could be drastically severe. However, we are also to take up the positives. We also have one of the greatest white ball bowler of all times. I'm going to say, or is on the way to being of a greatest white ball bowler or all-time bowler in Jasprit Bumrah. So we are glad that India has been able to produce such a gem for us, and young talent is going to come up step up, have to step up. Take You can't take up Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli's place. That's true, but I'm sure they'll take encouragement from these performances in ODI as well as T20, and sooner or later we will also see certain dominance that was shown by other countries. Example, Australia in the early 20s or West Indies in the 1970s. Yeah.
Yeah, that was well said. So now coming to, coming to T20, as we knew back in Cup, they said as the game kept getting shorter and shorter, it was going to spoil the drill of classical cricket, of like they used to follow a long format of cricket, and they said T20 would it would spoil the drill of classical cricket. It would spoil the way players play the game. It would spoil their gameplay. And so, like, what do you guys have to say? Do you think T20 spoiled their gameplay, or have they become, are they slogging too much, or are they following the class while playing? So Karthik, any say on this?
Yeah, so the popular buzzword right now is baseball, which is England's style of playing Test cricket. We could say that it's T20 cricket that brought on this type of revolution. We observe that there are much less draw Test matches than before. Now, teams play to win, and if they lose, that's fine. But there's no draw Test match, and I think that is better for the game. So, in a way, yes, T20 has improved the competitiveness of Test cricket. The game has gone much faster. The run rates have soared up. Um, but T20 cricket does have its downside. We see so many players opt out of their international contracts and move on to IPL contracts because they get more money there. We see so many West Indies players, example, Sunil Narain, Gale, Pollard, Bravo, so many of them, they've retired early and they play on IPL leagues or other international leagues. In this way, yes, Test cricket, I don't think Test cricket won't be affected, but then ODI cricket, yes, apart from ODI World Cups, the importance of ODIs has probably come down, and the importance of T20 has probably gone up. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And Ankur, what do you have to say on this?
To an extent, I do agree with Karthik's point when he brought up about baseball, because it is being heavily influenced by T20, which is having an attacking mindset from the first ball. However, I think that there is a certain level of skill sets which is required to play Test match cricket compared to T20, which is why there are certain players like Suryakumar Yadav who haven't flourished well in Test cricket when compared to T20. Test just requires another level of endurance. It requires another level of skills, patience, reading the game much better. Because you're playing 90 overs game for 5 days, so understanding the game, reading it for 5 days, you'll have to hold on to your endurance. Um, T20, on the other hand, it's more adrenaline based. It's fast paced. Um, it has its positives as well. Like just like how Kartik said, there are very less number of test matches which are being drawn, and baseball is probably pioneering it towards that direction. But ODI World Cup, I would still say, has its much more importance and relevance, as you could see in the 2023 World Cup. Um, as is it diminishing? I would say not yet. But the problem is franchise cricket is more taking up headlights uh, every year with different countries bringing up franchise cricket in this T20 format, reducing the importance of ICC tournaments, especially ODI. But I think as of now, ODI will still has its importance. But yeah, T20 is, I would still say T20 is an entertainment format for all of us. But the real game starts with ODI and Test. T20 is good. It's a really great. I mean, we have won the World Cup in this format, so I shouldn't say that. But yeah, ODI and Test is still a class above T20.
True. Yeah. So now coming to, yeah. So as you said, the T20 does have its downside. Do you think people are like the normal public? They are basing their entire judgment based on how they play in the T20 format and holding a grudge over them if they play slow in other formats. Any views on this?
Yeah. So for the average casual viewer of the game, yes, I do think their introduction to the game is T20 cricket. They don't start off watching Test cricket, they start off watching T20 cricket, especially the IPL. Their view of a player um, does more or less depend on their strike rate or something else. So when they view them in, say, ODI or Test, it's not about, in Test matches especially, it's not about strike rate. It's about how long you play, how much you endure. So yes, their judgment does go for a toss when put into other formats. But I do think it's evolving. People are starting to realize the amount of pressure that goes into playing a test match. You have to play for 5 days. Every session you play 30 overs, and it's grueling. You play in the sun. In T20 cricket, you probably play in the night most of the time. There's not that much heat, but in test match you have to play through the day. It is dehydrating. It's tough to play. So people, I think they are starting to understand the value of test cricket as such.
Yeah, fair. And what about you, Uncle? Same views or anything different?
Yeah, I more or less I agree with Karthik that test match is much grueling, requires much more endurance when compared to uh, T20. And the issue with T20 when you compare with the other longer formats is the pressure eventually starts building when you get a couple of dot balls when you play a shorter format, which tends batsmen or anyone who's batting at that particular point to start slogging or start going for the big shots, ending up losing their wickets. So there you can't understand or you can't classify somebody's skill because it's all about power hitting. Power hitting is probably the best skill set that one can have in T20 cricket. Not so in case of ODI as well as Test, because in ODI cricket you can still take in some pressure if you have a couple of bad overs. You can still make up to it. Not so in the case of T20 because a couple of dot balls can completely change your thinking, the way you approach the game, be it chasing or as well as setting up a total. But more or less, I agree with Karthik's points.
Sure. And yeah, as we're sticking to T20 format discussion for now. So, like, yeah. So, as you said, T20 needs a lot of power hitting, and power hitting is the base of T20 cricket. So, like, we have had great power hitters and great, like, very strong players such as AB de Villiers and Chris Gale, etc. So, like, who do we consider, like, according to you guys, who can we consider a bigger T20 asset? AB de Villiers or Chris Gale? Ankur, anything?
Um, I think if you talk about T20 as an overall, including franchisee cricket as well, I think the AB de Villiers is a player who's much more consistent, who's much more reliable. Both have the same skill sets of power hitting, but what makes AB de Villiers much better than, or let's not put down Chris Gayle's legacy. Let's just say what makes de Villiers so good at his place is one, the position he plays in, and the fact that AB de Villiers has a lot of cricketing skills. He has a very good IQ. He has good temperament. So when he plays, there is a lot of pressure that he has to absorb in because of the position he comes to bat in. And as we have all seen, the current generation as well as the one previous, they all have seen him show his class in all formats, but especially it's the T20 where he stands out the most. In IPL, he represented Royal Challengers Bangalore. I think he has the most number of Man of the Match awards. He comes in, he bats in at number 4, probably for Royal Challengers Bangalore, and he's taken them out of situations where they were not going to win. They were in a hopeless situation. AB Villiers comes in and changes the game. So the thing is, Chris Gale as an opener, he's he's an all-time T20 great. But the thing is, AB Villiers had that potential. He had the capability to change the game. Like he could easily make a losing cause game where, let's say, RCB or South Africa were losing. He could completely change it to his tune. That's how great AB de Villiers were. And it would be harsh to say that he doesn't have a trophy both in franchisee cricket as well as international. but his legacy as a T20 batsman just stands unmatched. So I would say AB de Villiers simply because of the pressure he could sustain as well as the consistency that he showed across franchisee as well as international format.
And
I would
Karthik, do you
actually
have comments?
differ to Ankur's opinion in this case because Gale, so Gale's an opening batsman. He has the most T20 centuries of all time, 22 T20 centuries of all time. The next best is 10 or 11 by Babar Azam. So, and his peak in the IPL is unmatched, 2011 to 2013. He batted at 50 average with 160 strike rate, won two orange caps. AB being a middle order batsman, he uh, his role is different. He has to be that much more versatile, yes. But in terms of purely power hitting, Gale is the better power hitter. AB de Villiers is more of an innovative batsman. He plays all around the ground, obviously Mr. 360. But uh, Chris Gale, AB de Villiers has 25 Man of the Match awards in IPL. On the other hand, Chris Gale has 22. So, and their IPL stats are neck and neck. AB averages 40, Chris Gale averages 40, AB strikes at 150, Gale strikes at 150. So it's neck and neck. Yes, their international T20 stats aren't that great. Both of them average less than 30, but Gale has two T20 World Cups to his name. So taking all these into consideration, I would say in terms of power rating, yes, Gale is the better power rater.
True. And yeah, so now talking about world tournaments, we also have the WTC coming up. And yeah, so looking at the performance in the test, do you think we have a chance of lifting the WTC trophy as well? I mean, of course, we are Indians and we have that patriotism and we do have the like we are fans of the game. So we will of course like say India might lift it, but logically and theoretically speaking, do you think we have a chance of lifting it as we did the T20 World Cup? Ankur?
Um,
Yeah, I think we have. We have come finals consecutively, but again, at the final moment, we weren't able to cross that barrier. New Zealand and Australia just were better than us on those 5 days. But yes, I think with the current squad that we have, we there shouldn't be a problem for us to reach the final. Look, the issue is that in these 2 years of Test cricket, reaching the final has not been an issue for India, and I believe that it won't be for the this upcoming World Test Championship. Shouldn't be an issue. What matters is that we need to keep our the Indian cricketers, batsmen, as well as bowlers, have to keep their calm and composed for those 5 days and play the usual game, soak in the pressure well, and ensure that teams don't come back within sessions. Because, like I said, in T20 cricket is not as challenging as Test. Test cricket can change from session to session. So, what the important key that lies for India is to soak in the pressure, play as they usually do against all the other countries, and irrespective of whichever venue we play in, I think if I'm not wrong, Lords is where we'll be playing the finals. If in case we reach, so it would be, it would be delightful if Virat Kohli could complete his trophy cabinet. But yes, logically speaking, we have that firepower. We have the arsenal to to make sure India can lift World Test Championship. We have that arsenal. Yes.
True. And Karthik, what about you?
So I like to actually say that having just one game to decide who the best test team is, I think it's a bit wrong. We need to have at least a
Yes.
three-match
Agree.
series, which would say because see, it's a matter of one game. I mean, and they play on a neutral ground. You take time to acclimatize to the conditions, and it's probably played in England. So um, I would say yes, having a three-match series would be a better judge of who's a better team because we play 2 years, so it's 2023 to 2025. You cannot judge the whole cycle of 2 years with one game. So would I say India are the favorites to win it? No, Australia have an equal opportunity, which is what they did last time. They won the previous World Test Championship. So It's all about who can handle pressure better on that day. It's not about who's a better team. It's about on that day. So in that case, the odds become even. The odds on stacked towards India in this case.
I agree with Karthik.
So
I think we should have a three-match series to settle the final because the reason is that we play across like we play in different conditions, we play in different countries. So settling in one venue to play fire or test match is a little difficult because, like I said, those settling down in a different venue to play. We could start off from, let's say, we play the penultimate test match in India, and then we have to move to England. Conditions are different, the spin conditions different, the pitch is different, pitch varies day by day, session to session. So these conditions overall makes it a little difficult. Now the key factor is whichever team can settle will have a higher chance of winning the World Test Championship. So to make the odds even, I think what Karthik said is true. We should keep a three-match series to decide who the winner is of the World Test Championship. I mean, we've had it for
true.
2 years. We can just keep three more matches.
Yeah, yeah. And now coming to the fitness in the game, talking about fitness in cricket. As we know, Virat Kohli, he's idealized fitness through the sport and he has become an idol of fitness. People are holding him as an idol. All the coming cricketers, they are becoming fit. But now, considering how we had Virendra Sehwag, we had Sachin Tendulkar, we have Rohit Sharma, who aren't as fit as how the game requires, as how Virat Kohli described the game requires the player to be. So, do you think fitness actually plays a big role, or is it only a margin, a small margin of difference? So, Karthik, anything?
Um, so, so first let's sort of talk about their individual games. Virat Kohli's game primarily consists of him running between the wickets. That's where most of his runs come. He's not the biggest boundary scorer of all time. Whereas if you see Rohit Sharma, he scores his runs through boundaries. He's the leading six hitter of all time, over 500 international sixes. So, uh, yes, fitness does matter, but we see a person like Rakeem Cornwall playing for West Indies. He's not the fittest person, but yeah, cricket, as opposed to say football or basketball, is not the most physically challenging game to play. As in, it is much tougher to run on the ground for 90 minutes than to hit a six, is what I would say. So, yes, we do need to be fit, and the credit completely goes to Virat Kohli for revolutionizing how us as Indians, especially Indians, view fitness. We see players like Hardik Pandya, Shubman Gill, KL Rahul, Bumrah. They're all fit. Um, and that does add an extra dimension to the game. Previously, players like, let's say, Sehwag, Gambhir, were they the best of fielders? No, they weren't. So in that sense, we have improved a lot, and that's what wins us tournaments. Teams like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, because of the fielding. So in that sense, I do think that we have definitely improved. And yeah, the credit definitely should go to Virat.
Sure. And Ankur, what's your say on this?
So yeah, like Karthik said, Azam Khan, as you can see, he's an absolute power hitter for Pakistan. But due to his fitness issues, he had to be dropped, and we could see why. Because in the penultimate England series, he dropped three catches, I think, of Butler as well as Brook, and if I'm not wrong, Barrister as well. So the thing is, cricket was always a game which did not require that much fitness. Virat Kohli revolutionized it to show that you can play the cricket, you can have your amount of fitness, but if you keep fitness as one of your priority, it just makes you superhuman. He's running between the wickets, his endurance, the way he can stick around, patience. Yeah, people might wonder what patience has to do with fitness. It does. Why do we conduct yo-yo tests? So these yo-yo tests are there. There are many players. I think Suresh Raina and Yuvraj Singh at one point weren't able to represent India in couple of tournaments because they failed the yo-yo test. Is yo-yo test very important? I would say, I mean, the priority that Indians give to yo-yo test shouldn't be that much. But yes, as you can see, we have fantastic fielders in Ravindra Jadeja, Virat Kohli. Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Shubman Gill. In tests, we probably have a few of the best slip catchers. So yes, fitness has revolutionized cricket to an extent, and Virat Kohli, of course, he's the pioneer to this. But yes, fitness does play an important role in today's modern day cricket. When it comes to Rohit Sharma as well, Rohit Sharma actually has a very good yo-yo test score. People just assume that because his physique doesn't look that well. But I would like to say physique and fitness are mutually exclusive. They are not the same. A person with bad physique does not mean that he does not have good fitness. Rohit Sharma has really good fitness. We saw that as well. So I would say overall fitness right now in this modern day cricket is an absolute must. It is very
Got
important.
it.
Sure. And yeah, when we talk about T20 World Cup win, so we also we made it through to the finals and we had a very good tournament. But a few of our players they didn't have their good patch of the they didn't have a good patch throughout the tournament. And of course, the final game we had many factors that actually favored us to the win. That is Bumrah's overs, Sky's catch, and those last overs bowled by Arshdeep and Hardik. So, we talk about all these as what favored. So, do you think, like, now as we had the squad wasn't changed throughout the tournament. I think it was kept meanly standard. So, like, do you think, yeah, Yashasvi Jaiswal was benched. So, do you think he had a place in the tournament, or do you think it was rather better that he was benched? Karthik?
Um, the the only reason Yashasvi Jaiswal wasn't there in the team is because Shivam Dubey has had to be there. He was brought into the team for being a six-seater. Now, whether he actually did justice to his role, that's a different topic. But then, yes, people decided that in the West Indies, spin would come into the picture, and so they brought in Shivam Dubey at the expense of Yashasvi Jaiswal. Um, would it have been a better option? We can't really say. Yes, Kohli didn't have the best of tournaments. Yes, he played well in the final, not his best game. But I would say no. I'd say this team, whatever combination we went in with, was probably the best because we got in Kuldeep Yadav in the West Indies. Like Kuldeep Yadav wasn't there in the United States. Like it was Siraj. In US at New York, we needed Siraj to bowl the power play overs, and so Kuldeep Yadav came in later. He gave us the impact, and we won the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ankur, do you share the same views or you have your own?
I would say that that's how narrative changes. If Virat Kohli were to have a stellar performance like he did in ODI World Cup, this topic or this question wouldn't have been brought up. But yeah, I think I would say that it would have been too soon for SSV Jaiswal to step up in such a huge tournament. I think that's the reason why they didn't take a lot of young players like Shubman Gill, Rinku Singh, for example. I was uh, surprised when they excluded Rinku Singh from the squad. But then, if you see the pattern in which they decided to play, they chose Virat Kohli simply because a he had a very good IPL campaign coming up to the T20 World Cup, and they assumed that he could replicate this. Uh, it was unfortunate he couldn't do that, but bringing in, they didn't want to change the team chemistry, the team formation. They realized, or let's say Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid must have had a dressing room chat that they wanted to keep the same team, irrespective of whatever the performance or whatever the result came up, simply because they had confidence that if not this game, they would still perform because these are reputed players. Virat Kohli is a highly reputed player. So dropping him for SFC Jaiswal, and it's not that Jaiswal had a great IPL campaign as well. He was brought in, but yes, as Kartik said, Shivam Dubey was expected to play a power hitting role. I think he was also supposed to ball a couple of overs, which I think Rohit Sharma didn't give him. But all in all, I think that it was the correct decision to keep the same team simply because Rohit Sharma had confidence in all his players. He knew that his players would step up when the time came. And Virat Kohli proved it to him right in the final. He wasn't able to do so in the previous group stage matches or in the knockout games. In the final, he stepped up when they needed him the most. Shivam Dubey as well did a good cameo. I think 27 run cameo he played. So all in all, I think Rohit Sharma, Rahul Dravid, they all took they were bold decisions. They could have dropped Virat Kohli and put in Jaiswal, but I think that confidence that Rohit Sharma had on his teammates was one more internal reason why India was successful in this World Cup.
Sure. And now coming to the one optimal question that is perfect to conclude this podcast is like, do you think the future now since Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they're starting to retire from one format and the other. So now T20, the next will be ODI. I think the next ODI World Cup will be Virat Kohli's and Rohit Sharma's last. And yeah, even the tests they might soon be retiring. So do you think Indian cricket is in good hands in the future, or do you think it's a matter of doubt?
See, there is no question about the talent that we have in this country. Players like Shubman Gill, Rinku Singh, uh, Rutraj Gaikwad, for instance, I do believe that they will take Indian cricket to a better place. At the very least, be better than we are now. It is very tough to replace Kohli and Rohit, yes. But what Kohli and Rohit have done is they've changed the culture of this team. They've made India into a very confident side. We are winning series overseas. We have never won a series in Australia before. We haven't even competed too much, but we're doing that now. That is because of the fast bowling culture that they've inculcated in us. Players like Bumrah, Siraj, Shami, who's had an excellent World Cup. These are the players uh, that will matter going forward. We haven't won in South Africa. We haven't won in New Zealand for a long time. I do think that will change in the future. So I do think that Indian cricket, it is tough to come back from the loss of Kohli and Rohit, but I do think it's possible.
And Ankur?
Yeah, I would say that to whoever's viewing this podcast, please don't just start putting in very big expectations on our players, because IPL is not the same as ICC tournaments. ICC tournaments is a whole different game. There will be times where Indian team will struggle and will struggle at a couple of important games as well. What they need right now from us is support. Yes, they cannot replicate the greatness of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, but at the same time, we have enough talent which can, of course, take us and lead us to great victories, help us win series that we haven't won so far. And of course, can we get back our T20 World Cup? Can we defend it? It's too early to say right now, but let's just not be too skeptical about their upcoming performances. Yes, it'll take some time. We're now going to have a new coach as well. We're going to now have a new captain as well. So I think there's an overall change in the entire team structure as well. There's going to be an entire change. Let's give some time to the young guys, and I'm sure that they'll pick up their performances, and we will be back to where we were. That is on the top.
And yeah, I think that was the conclusion, a good conclusion to our podcast. And thank you, Ankur and Karthik, for being the optimal guests for this. And yes, guys, thank you for watching. And we also would like to thank our moderators, Faraj and Ankit, who are managing this from the backside. And yeah, so please do support our content, and please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.